Welcome to Collecting Chaos. It's Freeform Friday. Now, I told you I was going to clean a comic today, and that's what we're going to do. We're not just going to clean any comic. No. We're going to clean this comic. You see, it has a lot of dirt on it, and it deserves to be cleaned. Now, it also has stains on the inside, and I could disassemble the comic and soak the pages and probably get those stains out, but I think I'm going to leave them. So we'll start with a little light dry cleaning, and then we'll go on to the next step. So if this is what you want to see, me possibly ruin a comic from 1949, keep on watching. Now we're going to get right to it. I'm going to take my little eraser cap and I'm going to start going over the white on the cover very lightly. I don't expect to get a whole lot of dirt off of this way, but I do expect to get some. Now don't forget, tonight there'll be an auction, and it starts around 10 o'clock Eastern time, which is about 9 o'clock my time, and it'll be on Horizon Picks channel, and I'll be on it, and Patrick Murphy, and we might have a few other people too, I don't know, and of course Horizon Picks. And like I said, I'm just going over the white very lightly. See if I can't get a little bit of the dirt off. I can't find my brush. I have a drafting brush that I use to clean off covers, but I can't seem to find it, so. Got a little bit of it off, not enough, but it does have a little bit of it off. I'm going to switch to this one. And basically we're taking all of those little steps I showed you and I'm putting it all together and adding one more step. And that one more step is one that most of you will probably not want to try. Go to the back now. The back is really dirty. Actually has some light pencil mark on the back. As you can see, this one actually is getting quite a bit of dirt off. I'm not explaining what I'm doing because if you watch the previous videos you should be able to already know. I had my ruler in the other room. Like I said, you might see me ruin a comic. I didn't take into account the fact that that crease was weak, so we'll have to put that back together. Oh, that hurts. Yeah, it's a chance we take when we try to clean something. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that real quick. Before I continue on. See, should have been more careful. If I can find where I left off on this. Ah, there it is. Yeah, I didn't get it on there perfect. It's a little bit off. It's a little bit up higher than what it should have been. Oh well. Stuff happens. No sense in getting upset about it. I'm the one that did it, nobody else. So here we go. I'm going to take this. This is the Absorine. And it pulled off a piece too. This comic has a lot more problems than I thought it did. Wow. Didn't expect that to happen either. Like I said, you might see me ruin a comic. I need a obviously this comic is not going to stand up to the dry cleaning. Which is one, the problem currently is it's just not holding up to being dry cleaned. So we're not going to dry clean it. I don't want to damage the comic further by dry cleaning it anymore. We're gonna stop that right now. It's a piece of parchment paper. You can buy it at your local big box store, anywhere they sell kitchen supplies or baking supplies. You can get parchment paper. We're going to take this and stick it under the cover. And then we're going to do what I probably should have started out with. We're going to do a wet cleaning. Now for this, I'm using Immaculate Comics, Immaculate Clean. And let me go put some glove. Well, let me put a glove on, because this is a chemical. And while I don't necessarily wear gloves to handle comics, or to even clean them, when I'm using the chemicals, I do. I think I have enough here to clean this comic. Then I'll have to make up a new batch. Let that dry for a bit. and we'll be back. Looks like a pretty good portion of it's air dried, or for the most part. So I'm going to take just a dry and go over it again. Does appear to be removing a small amount of the ink, but it's a whole lot less of it than what would come off if I was doing a soak. And we'll let it dry again. Okay, it's reasonably dry now. So what are we going to do next? Well, went and picked up a little distilled water. So I'm going to take and get a little water on the pad so I can clean the soap off. And I don't have gloves on for this, and I don't really need them because I'm not dealing with chemicals. I'm just taking off the soap. Take a dry one. And now we get to let it dry again. There's a lot of letting it dry. But I want to let it dry before I turn it over and work on the back. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, I'm going to turn it over, I'm going to work on the back of it, and then we'll see where we're at. I might need to heat it up a little bit and see if I can't get a little bit more dirt out of the sails and out of the actual ducts, make it look a little bit better. This light spot here I'm not going to be able to blend them to make them the same. That's all there is to it. So overall, it's going to be cleaner. How much better it's going to look, I don't know. I have lowered it significantly in grade, of course, because of those mistakes I had, those accidents I had on the back cover. It is what it is. I'm not overly happy with that, but I knew I was taking a chance. So, and anytime you do cleaning, you do take a risk of making the grade worse instead of better. So always be very, very careful. I was not careful enough, and that's why I had that big chunk come off of this back cover. And now it has tape on it. I can do something while I'm waiting for that to dry, though. I can shine up the staples a little. And it won't take very long to dry. Matter of fact, it's nearly dry now. cover feels a lot smoother than it did before when I first went over it with a pad, which is something that I did without filming, so you didn't see that part of it. But the cover does feel a lot smoother than what it did. Now I'm going to take this, put it there, flip it over. See what we can do about this back cover. One of the things I don't like about these gloves is that my hands are too big for most gloves. And even though I buy the extra large, they're still small on me. They'll still fit really tight. You see a lot of people, they wear the gloves and they look real loose on them. Not with my fingers. And we'll get this party started. Sometimes the dirt is just so ground in, you're not going to get it out. That's all there is to it. But I'm getting quite a bit of dirt off of this one, so that's nice. And lift it up, let it air dry, and I'll be back. And it's dry, so it's time to go over it again. Let's see what we can get off of this. Not getting a whole lot of dirt now, which means it's either ground in or I've pretty much gotten it off, but I think it's just that it's ground in pretty deep. So there we go again. Let's go back to letting it dry. One of the nice parts about working on these comics when it's hot is that stuff dries pretty quick. So let's get after it. We'll take a fresh one and I'll go over it. Get a little moisture on the pad. Get that soap off of it. Normally I don't use a piece of baking paper, but I couldn't find my boards that are big enough to so I wanted to be able to go over it like this. And So here we go. That's not really getting any dirt off now, which is probably a good thing. And you know what time it is? It's time to let it dry again. And we're dry again. Just going to clean it off here. See what we get, if anything. Doesn't look like we're going to get anything off of it. No, not really. Yeah, I think I'm going to put this in my press for a little bit and heat it, and then try again with my eraser very lightly to see if I can't get some of this off. And maybe that'll help. Because I'm sure that some of this dirt will come off. But maybe if it's heated up, the paper will relax some and we can do it that way. The other option I have is to steam it a little bit and then try that. But I think I'd just rather have a dry heat on the comic to do the erasing. So I'm going to take this into my press and we're going to do that, and I will be back shortly. And we'll see what happens. As a side note, when I heat a comic, I don't put pressure on it. I just set the press down on it and don't close it down. I just let it heat the comic without putting any real pressure, because I don't want to seal in anything. And it does look a little cleaner. It is a little glossier. So we'll see what happens, and I'll be back in a few. So I got it nice and warm, and let's see what's going to happen here when I go over it with my apparently nothing. So what we're going to do, we're going to go the other way around. Put this back in here, and while it's still warm, I'm going to go one more time with the ImmacuClean and see if that'll help. Put the glove back on. And sometimes you just can't get the dirt out. That's all there is to it. And if that's the case, then we'll, once it dries and I clean it off with some water, if it doesn't look like I've got any more dirt off of it, I'll just steam it, give it a press, and call it a day. So there we go. Let's let it dry again. Okay, time to wash it off. And I think this is going to be the last step. When I finish this, I'm just going to go ahead and steam it and give it a press. I don't think I'm going to get any more dirt off of it without further damaging the comic, and right now I'm getting nothing. So any dirt that's left on there is deep within. And I'm going to go ahead and let this dry, and then I'm going to repeat the whole thing with the back side. Exactly what I just did now, I'm going to do on the back side of the comic. So we'll have the whole thing ready, and then I'm going to steam it and press it, and I'll show you the end result at the end of the video. So we'll be back shortly. And I'm back, and this is all dry. We'll go over it real quick with this. And now I'll do the other side, and then I'm going to go ahead and steam it. And once it's steamed, I'll put it in the press, and then, like I said, I'll show it to you once it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But you don't need to watch me do all of that stuff again. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of the back, and then get it in the press, and we'll go from there. And I'll show it to you in a few minutes. Well, I'm back, and I guess it's time to show you the results. It flattened out very nicely. The wrinkles that were here are pretty well gone. It's not as clean as I was hoping to get, but it's very acceptable. The back, I mean, you can still see where I tore it there by accident, and you can still see where it was damaged up here. But overall, I think it came out pretty nice. And I'm happy to have it in my collection. A little disappointed at myself for not being more careful, but it is what it is. So there you go. All that needs to be done now is to have it put in my light, which I will do right now. I use a full back board for this, of course, and a silver gold bag, which will fit just fine. And there we go. Walt Disney's Comics and Stories, number 108, from September of 1949. One of my favorite covers of all time. So that concludes this episode of Freeform Friday. It only took me 3 batteries and about 6 hours to make. So yeah. Now I get to do the editing. So we'll see you next video. Don't forget, before you handle your comics, your cards, collectibles, whatever it happens to be, make sure you wash your hands. It's good for your comics, it's good for your cards, it's good for your health. And we'll see you tonight at the auction. Bye.